All right, hey Renee.
Hi Josh, Shavua Tov.
Yeah, Shabbat Tov. Happy Sunday. How you doing?
Good. How was your Shabbos?
It was nice. It was very nice. It was cold, but there was some nice warmth to it still. Some Torah,
It's good.
a mystery
It's good.
novel I like to read.
So you were telling me there's this book that you like to learn a book once a year or every year. You learn a
Yeah, I try
different
to
book.
read one book a year. I think that's a good standard. No, yeah. So there's a Sefer I like learn through, like Kaseder, like in order once a year. And this year's book was a Hasidic book that I've learned like parts of a lot, but I've never learned it like in order. And it's the Degel Machane Ephraim. Wow, wow. Is the Sefer of the teachings of the grandson of the Baal Shem Tov. Um, who, of course, as you can tell from the name, because all Hasidic books are puns, his name had Ephraim in it, although actually it wasn't his first name. It was Moshe Chaim Ephraim of Sudelikov. But it's a great source for like authentic, it seems like kind of good, authentic relayings of what the Baal Shem Tov's Torah was like, because the Baal Shem Tov didn't publish any of his own books. So it's tough to kind of figure out like what was the Baal Shem Tov's actual teachings, what was his actual chassidus. And this is a book that I think actually gives a pretty good representation of like the Baal Shem Tov's teachings.
Okay, so you're gonna teach us something from this book
Yeah,
uh,
so I was
right
learning.
now, only
Mhm.
because only because I didn't have any questions for you from the last class. So,
Well, it's
so
perfect
what?
that that's the case actually, because this coming class on Tuesday is going to be all about where questions stop. It's
Oh,
oh, it's gonna be amazing. This is one of my like I think I said it last week. It's like the Zohar that made me fall in love with the Zohar. It's right there in the beginning too. It really grabs you. It's beautiful because like the
okay.
beginning with the rose image that we saw was this beautiful poetic metaphor. The imagery, but also the way it connects to our bodies and our practice. And that was like a really lovely introduction to the way the Zohar kind of links image and symbol and text and bodily practice. Like it all unites as one and draws us into it. But here we have like a really beautiful example of the Zohar's beautiful, imagination and its exegesis, the way it playfully relates with text. Really
Cool.
beautiful.
Okay, so looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So what do you have for us today?
Yeah. So I was learning yesterday afternoon around Shalosh Shivas. I was learning this really lovely um, Dagel, and I can share screen. Actually, I found it on the interwebs. There we go. So he's quoting on. So he's commenting on this notion in Ki Tisa, which was the parsha we just learned, in which um, Bezalel, who is like the chief artisan, who was charged with the task of designing all of the holy utensils used in the sacred space, right, in the Beit Hamikdash, in the Mishkan, and the like. How he was charged with his authority, with this role, and this is lachshov machshavos la'asos bezav chesef nechoshes charoshes evan lamalos v'charoshes eitz v'chule. Right, so he said to think thoughts, and it's interesting, right, that somebody whose job is to create objects, the first thing that the Torah mentions is that it's an intentional role, right? It's a role that's located in your consciousness. It's not about your hands and your skills, but actually first it starts with your mind. It starts with your thought. And he says that devar zeh galui v'yadua, it's known l'chol ba'alei adas, to everyone who has a brain in their head, right? Everyone, a person of consciousness. Ki hakol holech achara machshava. Everything goes after thought, right? Everything follows thought. And this is one of the very commonly referenced teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. That in a sense, if you think it, it is. It's not like the secret, right? Can we manifest or whatever? It's not as woo woo as that. But the notion that like the way that we think about the world really disposes us in a certain kind of way, and it influences the life that we lead. Viadua mashakasu bezora kodesh, and he said it's known what's written in the Holy Zohar, and specifically in the Tikkunim. And we did a rundown of all the different texts that make up the Zohar. And the Tikkunim, if we remember, is like the addenda to the Zohar, a separately
Right.
published book, promulgated, like published in the early 13th century. It seems from a unified hand same author as the Raya Mehemna, which is the text included in the Zohar.
Right. Okay.
So in the sixth tikkun on page 22b, um, no, sorry, in the no, it's in the Hakdama. Oh, so it's in the introduction to the tikkunim, but it is still on page 22b. I'm getting some conflicting reports here, but I found it, and I did find it on 22b. Um, oh, I see, I see, I see. So we have the notion here from the Hakdama. We have the notion from the introduction from the Tikkunim that and actually this is something I said in the Parsha, and I said, oh, the modern Israeli scholars think this, but it goes all the way back to the Kabbalah. So we see in the Zohar, it says, Ki Mishkan v'chelav heim dugmas olamos elyonim v'tziyura de'uvda dema'aseh breshis. It says that the Mishkan, the sanctuary, the tabernacle, and its instruments, right, its tools, things like that, are all a paradigm, a dugma, like a pattern of the cosmos, of the upper worlds, and tsiura, which means an image, right? But again, like a blueprint, a plan, de'uvda dema'aseh bereshit, of the work of the work of creation. So the Mishkan is this pattern, this paradigm that recapitulates what all of the created world looks like, the structure of the created world.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a blueprint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. It's like a pattern that repeats, right? It's like a code, right? When you think of it, maybe in computer terms, or linguistic terms, or in imagistic terms, right? It's a pattern. It's a blueprint.
Yeah.
Lay on top, right? So it's contained within the world, but it's a pattern of the world, and that's the fractal structure that we were talking about before. A fractal is a piece of something that actually is the pattern of the whole. Crystals manifest in that kind of fractal way as well. It says, and it is made of mishalosh esrei midos, and it's made of 13 qualities. Remember from the 13 qualities of mercy that we saw before, right? Silver, gold, and then it lists all those different substances that are used to create it, and it's referring to kind of the basic substances that are like the elements that are used to put together to make the physical world. Okay, so da 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 da, and then we have this from him quoting this Tikkun Vav. So I said that there's 70 tikkunim in the Tikkunei Zohar. 70 is a number that shows up a lot, right? 70 languages, 70 nations. And there's 70 tikkunim referring to each of the different aspects of the Torah. And in it, right, each tikkun is a different anagram, right, rearranging of the letters of the word Bereshit. So this is from the sixth tikkun, and we can see what the anagram of Bereshit as we go to the top. Top of the tikkun, which is a little bit maybe too far away for me to quickly find. Great, I don't want to get lost. All right, so we don't know what it is, but it's fine. It's all good. So, and he says here in the Degel Machaneh Ephraim, it says, quoting actually the pasuk V'shamru b'nei Yisrael, right? So in the pasuk V'shamru, which we actually see is one of the first things that God says that precedes the story of the golden calf. So it is kind of a reinforcing of the principle of Shabbat. It's the linking of the work of creation to the day of Shabbos. And this is the link that we have that justifies that the 39 labors that were used to make the Mishkan, those are the paradigm, right, and pattern for the things that we don't do on Shabbos. And we talked about that also recently, that the 39 positive malachos that we use to make the Mishkan, that we use to make holy space, those are things that we hold back from and we don't do on Shabbat. There are 39 things we avoid doing to also create holy time. Right? Space is something that we intervene in, but time is something that we hold back from to keep sacred, that we don't create it, we don't control it. So it says, Bizina de Shechinta ihi begalusa. When the Shechina was in Gullus, right, is in exile, like that, right? So in the exilic period. Di'itmar ba v'lo matzah hayona manoach v'gomer, that the dove in the story of Noach wasn't able to find its resting place, and that is used as a metaphor to refer to how the Shechina is na v'nad, right? The Shechina is wandering, can't settle down. That's what it's like to be in exile, right? You can't find your place to settle. Ella b'Shabbos v'yamin tovin v'hauzina isyachadas im ba'alea. Except, right, Shekhinah isn't able to find a time or a place to settle, except on Shabbos and Yantif, and other times in which there's a sense of unity, in which Shekhinah is able to unite with her partner in the God, in the Sfirot, right, the Kutchabrichu. So that's what Shabbos is, right? Shabbos is a time in which the Shekhinah and her partner find unity. Shabbos is a time of unity, and that's recapitulated in family dynamics, right? Or in our sense, a relationship with our soul. It's when we find feeling unified with ourselves, or it's spouses are able to find time to come together Friday night, right? So that family dynamic or that personal spiritual dynamic is repeated up above. And that's something we keep on seeing with Kabbalah. That what's happening between God and in the different aspects of God is what's happening down here as well. So we are taking that role, and we, in a sense, role play what it's like, what's going on in God's realm. That kind of harmoniousness, that repetition, or that rehabilitation, or that re-inhabiting, is that dynamic of what's happening in the Zohar. Everything's happening on the same level, at the same on different levels, but at the same time. That's kind of
That's cool. Yeah.
yeah, and so you feel like you feel that's what these special moments feel like, right? It's not just something's happening just with me, but something's happening that I'm participating in that's bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess if you stay conscious of that, then like you're really, it like brings more meaning into everything you do during
Great.
the, like,
Yeah.
yeah, you should really be conscious of that during the day, like what your actions are sort of mimicking, or um what's happening at these different levels. You really have to be conscious of that at this level.
Hmm. It is known that things follow after our consciousness, right? So great, great,
Mhm.
great referring back to I think you're exactly intuiting what the Digal Machane Ephraim is trying to highlight, that we align or tune our consciousness to something, which helps us then bring ourselves in alignment with it.
Amazing.
And I
Okay.
think anyone who's like really participated in Shabbos like really feels that, right? It's something that we are simmering in, right? It's something that's
Yeah.
happening here inside of, but it's also something that we make happen,
Yes.
right? Something we activate, but on the other hand, it's something that exists, that we're like it's cradling us. So it says, "Uvahu zimnei sichas im ba'aleh," right? When we find this unity, when the Shekhinah finds unification with her spouse, v'chama nefashos yiseirin kanachtin ima, and all of the spirits are able actually to come descend with Shekhinah lid dayara b'Yisrael, to come dwell with or within Israel. So it's a time in which souls are able actually to find also a sense of emplacement, a sense of settlement. Um, and I think also, again, like the feeling different axes of connection on Shabbos, right? There's a connection with our community around us. There's a connection with our spirit. There's a connection with God. There's also, I think, a lot of people feel a connection with our ancestors as well, a connection of bringing down memories of people that we spent Shabbos with, or the notion in which, again, we're part of a chain that stretches all the way back, and we're bringing in those presences as well.
Hmm.
Hadu dichtiv, as it is written, and here he quotes our parsha. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael es Shabbos, right? We know that paragraph from Kiddush on Shabbos day, right? B'nei Yisrael, right? The Israelites keep Shabbos lidorosam, right? For its generations. Similarly to actually how Passover is also mentioned in this parsha, and Passover also was lidoros, right? Passover is also 4 generations. It's not just a one-off, but it's a link and a chain of continuity. Zakah, and this is real classic Tikkunei Zohar language. Zakah ihu man de misakin ladira na believe. Oh my god, this is what actually lit me up, and I was so excited that you texted me this morning. Like, all right, what are we doing for a video? And I'm like, this is what we're doing. It's like, oh, it's so beautiful. Zakah means it's like the word zchus in Hebrew, but it's a little bit different in the Zohar. It doesn't just mean how meritorious you are, but it means how fortunate you are, how happy is the one, right? How like lit up you are, how excited you are. Zakah ihuman de misakin ladira na'a bilibe. How happy, how fortunate, how lucky is the one who's able to misakin tikkun, to set up a dira na, a beautiful dwelling place in their heart. V'chelim na'im be'evarim delay, and beautiful, lovely instruments, tools out of their limbs. The Isha Na'a Di'i Nishmase. Here it's Isha, a feminine, because it's addressed to a male reader, history, right? But we can just say someone's spouse, someone's partner, who is, a lovely partner who is their soul. Uvegina Sharia Shchinta Ilah, and within the Shechina, the holy Shechina dwells within, who is the soul, the Nishmas Kol Chai Ale, the soul of all living things. V'kutsha brichu ihu shavas bechad. And Kadosh Baruch Hu, right, the Shekhinah of Tiferes, but also just the general sense of divinity, the transcendent aspect of God, is shavas bechad, rests in oneness. V'yinafash, right, Shabbat v'yinafash, right, rests and is refreshed in that unity, in that unification, in that oneness. B'shchinta ilah ihu shavas ilahu, finds that sense of rest, comfort, refreshment, peace with that partnership. B'shchinta tata ihu vayinafash alahu. So here we have a notion in which there's the Shekhinah above and the Shekhinah below. And the Shekhinah, that is the part of Shekhinah in a sense that stays in the heavenly realm, and there's the Shekhinah as an exile with the rest of us, referring to Bina and Malchus, probably technically, but we don't need to get caught up in the technical details. But the sense in which there's an aspect of Shekhinah that's down here with us, there's an aspect of Shekhinah that's still in the Sphirot, in the Godhead. So with the Shekhinah above, Kadosh Baruch Hu finds Shabbat. Shekhinah below, Kadosh Baruch Hu finds Vayinafash, right? That refreshment. That's a way in which the Zohar is trying to make every word work, right? Why does it say Shabbat Vayinafash? Why can't it just use one of those words? Because one of the words refers to an aspect of Shekhinah that Kadosh Baruch Hu finds peace and rest with, and the other one finds the aspect of Shekhinah below, the imminent aspect of Shekhinah that Kadosh Baruch Hu finds refreshment with. Vayihiv lo nafshan yisaran, and gives to them additional souls. And this is the notion in which on Shabbos we receive an additional soul, right? As I said before, like we invoke down spiritual presences. There's a notion that we actually have an extra soul on Shabbat. We take it in when we say Kabbalat Shabbat, when we welcome in the Sabbath Queen, but not just that, we welcome in a sense, an additional expansive aspect of ourselves. So this is what the Zohar does. The Zohar invests in the language, right? This text about Vishamru, this Kiddush that we say. It says, you're not just talking about how your ancestors or how in theory people keep Shabbat. You're actually describing something happening right now in which you're drawing down the presence of God and you're recognizing the way in which God finds unification, that you find unification and unity with people around you, with the special person who is dear to you, with your own spirit, how you actually have a more expansive sense of self on Shabbat, that you bring down an extra soul, and all of this is being repeated as we go through the rhythms of Shabbat every week. But not just that. But I don't know if you, but I'm sure you caught this. But it was subtle. It wasn't obvious. But the Vishamru paragraph, right, happens right after the description of the Mishkan. And what is the Zohar saying is our Mishkan today? When we are in exile, i.e., the Mishkan, Beit HaMikdash, is not physically present with us, where do we make a Mishkan?
In ourselves.
Exactly. We make our bodies, we make our souls, we make our hearts. Blessed is the one, like happy is the one who's able to make a Mishkan in their heart. Misakin ladira na'avalibe is able to invite in the Shekhinah in their heart and make their limbs, right? Make their tools that they use in the world, like the tools the Beit HaMikdash used for a holy purpose to help create a space, to create an environment, to create a venue, an opportunity for God to be present, for God to manifest and find that sense of harmony.
So beautiful.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it's really nice and something to take with us during the week and to remember, like when Shabbat comes next week, that we should keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I think it very much exactly what you're saying before, that like we have an opportunity to be mindful of this, to have that intention, to bring that actualization into our lives. I think it's a really good example too of the way that the Zohar works as a text, but also the way it wants us to work as people.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that
Yeah.
the Zohar is trying to find those synchronicities, right? Those ways in which there's a harmony happening on multiple levels at the same time. And that's how we're actually living our lives. That what's happening with us is also what's happening above, and what's happening around, and what's happening within. That it's all part of one huge spiritual drama, this huge spiritual choreography in which we're playing our part, but also in concert with all these other components as well. And we're all in it together, but there's something absolutely irreducibly singular that each of us are able to do. It really helps to, in a way, radicalize our attention as a practice and
Mhm.
help a completely new perspective to what it's like to live in Shabbat. That it's not just something, in a sense, nice that we're doing, but also that we're participating in something and able to be part of something real, and we're all part of it.
Very nice. Thank you for that beautiful Torah.
Gewalt. Thank you to the Zohar. Thank you to Moshe Chaim Ephraim of Sudalikov. And, and thanks to you for texting and make sure we do this video.
Okay, thank you. So we'll see you on Tuesday for Zohar.
Tuesday, 7:30. And we're going
Okay.
to keep on going the Hakdama. Umaro meinechem ureu mi vara eile. And just pay attention to that question word, me. And we're going to be looking into the origin of all questions and the place where questions stop.
Very interesting. Okay,
All
sounds
right.
good.
See you.
Bye.